Good damn morning, Americans. Jericho Green here with you once again. It is my Monday. I'm headed back to work. My foot is 105%. Ready to go make this money. Now, I want to give you a quick update on my fender bender situation. A few days ago, my wife was at the CVS drive-thru. Some dude was nice enough to run into the back of her. She pulled over and waited for him to complete his business at the drive-thru window, hoping that he would stop. He would pull over next to her. They would exchange insurance information. You know how normal people do. But of course, he did not. He took off. She went to follow him to get his license plate number, and he blew a red light and got away. So we call our insurance company, we turn in our vehicle, and we called the cops. They sent a police officer to our house, and you know, being the color that I am, I came out of my house. We have like a little sunroom. So you come out of the house into the sunroom, and that's where the front door is. So I looked through the window, saw a police officer, and figured, oh, this is it. I'm about to be murdered. So I open the door, and I tell the cop, I say, hey, how you doing? He says, good, how are you, sir? I said, great. He asked for my wife. I said, she'll be right out. My son was right there next to me because for some reason, when the doorbell rings, kids lose their fucking mind, and they must see who it is. So he was right there with me, and he waved to my son and said hi. My son waved back, and then my wife came to the door and talked to the police officer. I didn't get murdered, people. According to the mainstream mediocres, I should have been gunned down, 8 bullets, center mass. As soon as I opened the door, he's got a gun! Boom, that should have been it, right? Nope, you fucking dummies. So, anyway, the cop went to CVS to get the guy's information. CVS said, we can't tell you his information because he's protected by HIPAA, some patient confidentiality bullshit. So, the cop didn't stop there. He went to corporate. Corporate gave him the guy's information, and they should be tapping on his door this morning. Now, once it's established that this motherfucker doesn't have any insurance, I'm assuming he doesn't, because why would you leave the scene of an accident if you had insurance? Nobody was injured. There was no significant damage to either vehicle. You pull over, exchange information, pay the price, because your premiums are probably going to go up a little bit. You're going about your business. So once it's established that this fool doesn't have any insurance, then I can be reimbursed by $500. Yes, people, I had to pay $500 out of my pocket to get our vehicle back from the collision shop. Because, you know, like most Americans, I just got $500 sitting around waiting to blow on some stupid, dumb bullshit that never should have happened in the first place. So as soon as we get word back from the cops, I will give you yet another update. So, here's another update. The Covington kids, remember that? Remember a few months back, this Catholic school was there on a field trip, and next thing you know, some Indian dudes beating a drum in their face. They're smirking, chanting their school songs, and of course, since they had no color, and he had some color, they must have been racist. Now, I must admit, I was slightly fooled by this because all the information that came out first was the footage of them face-to-face with the Indian dude, and it looked like, of course, I never believed that racist shit, but it looked like they were harassing him. Turns out, totally the other way around. He approached them. There were a bunch of black Hebrew Israelites there yelling all this racist, anti-homosexual shit. And of course, because they're colored, they don't know better, so they didn't get in trouble. You know damn good and well that was a group of fucking white dudes yelling at some black kids, calling them racial slurs and anti-homosexual language. That would have been it. They would have been doxxed. We would have known where they live, where they worked, what they got in 3rd grade PE, and everything in their life would have been fucking ruined. But there it is, that damn double standard. Anyway, so of course, all these fucking stupid, mouth-breathing, borderline retarded, so-called journalists and celebrities slam these kids. They're So I think somebody that worked for CNN went on Bill Maher's show on HBO and called him a little prick. Called this 16-year-old kid a little prick. Somebody else was saying, oh, he has a face I'd like to punch. You know what they did to these kids? Dragged them through the fucking mud. Slander 101. If you wanted a lesson in slander and defamation of character, there you go. So this kid filed a lawsuit against CNN, the Washington Post, New York Times, I think a few other media outlets. And guess what? He won. At least one of them. He won the lawsuit against CNN. CNN decided to settle. They didn't release the amount that they settled for, but they are breaking off that kid a check. And I was reading the story about it, and I thought to myself, this is great. Because normally when something really bad happens to somebody and they get a check from a big company, there was usually a death or a major injury involved, and the people can't enjoy the money. If a loved one dies and the company that was responsible gives you $80 million, that don't mean shit. Your relative's still dead or your relative's still maimed or injured. But in this case, the kids are fine and that bank account is about to put on some serious weight, which is awesome. So, we'll see how the other lawsuits pan out. And CNN, their lawyers were saying, oh, well, we can't, he can't win this lawsuit because even though we called him racist, that's not something you can prove and all this other shit. It's like, he was a 16-year-old and he was under the weight of that giant corporation. You guys went after him with everything you had, and now you gotta fucking pay. So Washington Post and the other fucking rags that belong at the bottom of a birdcage to be shit on, I hope you're next. And in total, their lawsuits add up to $800 million. I hope they get $800 million and won. So that's great for that kid. Be smart, put some of it away, but take a little bit, have a lot of fun, and stick it to the man. Get that money. So, of course, we're all on the edge of our seat, eating our popcorn, watching the movie known as What the Fuck's Going On in Iran and Iraq. So yesterday, Iran, and they took full responsibility. They launched, I read, between 10 and 12 cruise missiles at this base that houses U.S. troops and allies. And I was like, oh shit. I even posted on my YouTube page and my Facebook page that, okay, this escalated quickly and we'll have to see what happens. But one thing that caught my attention was that there was no immediate talk about the damage. Because usually it's, X amount of people presumed dead and injured, and there's footage of, some burning shit, and there's just more going on. There's more information. So I'm thinking, well, maybe it's not as bad as it sounds. Iran attacks base. That's pretty bad on its face. Trump tweeted that so far so good, no major injuries or deaths reported. He'll be doing a speech this morning, and right now it's looking good as far as, injuries and deaths. None so far. And I was reading an article this morning basically saying the same thing, and it was talking about the different reasons that Iran may have done this, knowing that everybody's sleeping, so there's not a lot of people moving around the base, so there's not a lot of, for lack of a better word, targets spread out, which would be easier to get them if they're walking around the base in the various buildings, because they could pretty much hit anything and get casualties. So they knew they were all sleeping at night. They only shot 10 to 12. Basically, they would have done more if they wanted high body count. Basically, they're bullshitting. It's like they shot missiles at the base, but the missiles hit like at the edge of the base where nobody was. So technically, yeah, we fired on a U.S. military installation, but we didn't hit shit but the grass and the other side of the fence where nobody was. So I'm anxious to see what the injury and body count is and what's going to be the response. I wouldn't be surprised if there are no injuries, there are no deaths, and Trump doesn't hit him with the retaliation. The reason I say this is because remember when they shot down our drone? Remember when they were fucking with ships, oil tankers trying to get through there and shit? Since they didn't hurt anybody, we didn't do anything to them. Like, we didn't really fuck them up. because, you know, what's an ant to a giant? You know what I mean? If a 3-year-old comes up to you and hits you in the stomach, you're gonna knock the kid out? No, because it doesn't hurt. They're not a threat. So unless they really do some dumb shit, I don't think we're going to do anything to them. And everybody's talking, oh, here we go, another endless war. Even my brother texts me. Now, how about that war? Or something like, no endless war, huh? Something like that. And then that's when I looked up and saw that Iran had shot some missiles at us. I was like, well, we'll see what happens. You know what I mean? We have to see what the damage is first. So far, there is no damage. Like I said, they didn't come out with the, oh my goodness, this just happened, breaking news and footage of this and that, because you know there'll be footage. There's cameras every fucking where. Everybody's an amateur photographer with a camera in their pocket or a video recorder. So I don't think they did a lot of damage. We'll definitely find out. I mean, Trump's already sent troops over there, you know, just in case. Like he said, he's picked out targets. They've already picked out targets ready to roll if they really do some dumb shit. And you know, it's wintertime here, which means it's summer over there. So it's hot as fuck. I've been there. Summertime in the Gulf, in those Arab countries, man, it's hot as shit. So if they want a nice, tall, sweating, icy glass of ordnance, we can give it to you. I hope we don't. I hope this doesn't turn into another war. I don't think it will. Number one, Trump said this is not what he wanted to do. He wanted to get us out of these endless wars. And until he proves otherwise, I'll believe him. Number two, this was also in the article, it is an election year. So I don't think he's dumb enough to get us in some more bullshit in the Middle East before that, because that would not be good for him. And number three, I mean, really, this could be used as a way to get out of it. This could be used as a way for both sides to walk away from it, because Iran doesn't want it either. Don't think that we're the only ones who don't want this. They don't want it either. Their government is split down the middle. Half of them don't want it, half of them do. They're already crippled by sanctions and poverty. So they don't want to go, especially a conventional your tanks against my tanks kind of war with America, because that's not going to end well. Ask the fucking some of those Iraqi soldiers who were left over from the first Gulf War, which is probably the last war we had that was an actual standard war. Your tanks against my tanks, your ships against my ships, so on and so forth. They don't want that. Their people want things like electricity and food and peace. And that's what we want too. So stay tuned. I know I will be. I want to know how this plays out. And first and foremost, I want to know what the body count is, if anything. What's it going to be? And like I said before, in previous videos, you got to look at who's freaking out to see how right the action was. If the left is losing their mind and these dumbass retarded celebrities are tweeting about it, chances are Trump did the right thing. We will see. Now, people, you know what time it is. I got to hop in this rat race, but you know how it goes. I try to be done with the left, but they just won't let me. Please subscribe. Hit that notification bell, because every time it rings, a piece of shit liberal cries. Help me stay independent. Get your Jericho Green notification tones from fanatictones.com. Link in the description box. Utilize the PayPal link and the Teespring link to get your green gear. I am Jericho Green. Man, I'm out.